Breath of the Wild is an original game. Dang it. Genshin Impact, huh? It looks exactly like Breath of the Wild. How's that possible? They copied an original game. Nobody copies Breath of the Wild and gets away with it. Oh hey look, cute anime girls. Heck yeah. Hey there, it's Blixtree with a relatively recent game called Genshin Impact. A year ago, everybody was making such a big deal about this game and how it was basically a Sony version of Breath of the Wild. And you know that got a lot of toxic Zelda fans triggered. In fact, people were literally standing in a giant crowd and smashing their PS4s. Like, come on, games get ripped off all the time. How is this any different? And is it really worth throwing away like $300? Yeah, yes it is, because Zelda is completely original. Well, all, if not most, of the controversy has already died off by now, and people are genuinely enjoying this game. Honestly, when I first saw this trailer about a year ago, I had no idea why everyone was getting as mad as they were, because there are a bunch of differences between Genshin Impact and Breath of the Wild. For example, you can play as multiple characters, and in my opinion, it just gives off a different vibe. I will admit there are a lot of details that align one-to-one, and it's shockingly apparent, but there are still a ton of differences. One of my favorite parts about this game has got to be that it's free to play, which is actually quite shocking because this is nearly as huge as Breath of the Wild is. It was made by miHoYo, who were the developers behind Honkai Impact 3rd, which is a free-to-play mobile game. So being mobile developers who love to make free games, they made Genshin Impact, which was more of a love letter to Breath of the Wild than just a blatant ripoff. It's still kinda crazy that such an ambitious project could just so easily be free to play, but hey, I'm not complaining. Genshin Impact was supposed to be released for the Switch, but that never happened. Right when you jump into the game after a few hours of downloads, you are greeted with a fully animated cutscene, and you can pick your starting character. You get to meet Paimon, who is basically your guide and also a slightly, and I mean slightly, less annoying version of Navi.
Hey, listen!
A little bit cuter as well. Right from the start, you just get so many Breath of the Wild vibes. Attacking, climbing, stamina, gliding, picking stuff up, cooking, this opening cinematic. Stop stealing Zelda's originality! But there are a lot of things still that set Genshin Impact apart from its Switch predecessor. Does this mean that Zelda is still original? First of all, it's important to mention elemental abilities in this game. There are 7 elements in this game, namely Pyro, Cryo, Dendro, Hydro, Electro, Geo, and Anemo. It uses a basic element advantage system, you know, kinda like a watered down version of Pokemon's, and different reactions can occur based on which element you could come in contact with. Different element types mean it's useful to use different characters who specialize in these elements. Genshin Impact gives you 24 playable characters after you complete the main quest for the story. You can only control up to 4 at a time, and each character has different weapon types to use in different situations. Each character has different passive talents and elemental bursts, which are special moves that correspond to their elemental type. Your main character actually has the ability to adapt to these different elements. The base passive talent is called Sitting Wind, and the elemental burst attack is Palm Vortex. Actually, there are some characters with abilities very similar to that of the champion powers in Zelda. Being, of course, a mobile-centered game, and in addition to that, being free, they had to create some way to make money, so they made this game a gacha game. Nothing like legalized gambling to obtain underage anime girls. And other stuff, of course. This gacha mechanic allows you to obtain characters and weapons and other stuff you might need. Unfortunately, there's no accessorizing the characters in Genshin Impact, probably because 80% of these characters are underage anime girls. Although you do have certain upgrades available in the form of artifacts. My one complaint about this gacha mechanic is that it is one of the most cash grabby things out there. It isn't Raid Shadow Legends level of cash grab, but it's still there. Gameplay wise, Genshin Impact is pretty restrictive, which is kind of a shame. You have to meet certain level and rank requirements to go through the domains, the Genshin Impact version of shrines. Zelda's only restriction was that you needed to attain the paraglider in order to progress, but after that you could go wherever the heck you wanted to. Genshin Impact makes you wait till you're stronger, which sucks cause Genshin Impact is very easy. All these monsters are very watered down versions of Zelda's enemies, and the fact that you are able to have elemental advantages over them does not help one bit. Genshin Impact has a multiplayer mode as well, which is kinda interesting. You have to be a certain rank to unlock it, and I don't have any friends, so it doesn't really matter. Frequent co-op events can also go on, which is another thing that just makes Genshin Impact lean towards the mobile game standards. The constant event and reward system, the microtransactions, the daily gift thing, the microtransactions. Especially the microtransactions, did I mention that? I love how you could climb while it's raining here, which is one of my pet peeves in Zelda. Climbing is a key mechanic of traversal, and eliminating that gives you long periods of time where you have to avoid climbing, otherwise you'll just waste stamina. Yeah, I get it, you need to set up some roadblocks so players can think around it, but I don't care, the rain is just too random, just let me climb, please! Swimming is also much easier, allowing you to actually swim faster than just dashing every now and then. Running as well is triggered by holding the dash button. This dash button is very useful and makes avoiding enemies much easier. The open world mechanics in Genshin Impact are fun as well, almost as much so as Breath of the Wild. Although Zelda gave you more tools to play around with, but it doesn't really matter because I had fun in both worlds. And this may be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I prefer Genshin Impact's more vibrant visual style. Breath of the Wild is gorgeous, but comparing it side to side with Genshin Impact, the colors look a little more washed out than I remembered. It's not that big of a deal, it's not that big of a difference, it's just an observation. And also, the overall effect of Breath of the Wild is a lot grander in my opinion. I may have mentioned that combat is a lot easier in Genshin Impact, but given all the elemental types, there is also a lot of variety. Switching characters in Genshin Impact is like switching weapons in Zelda, weighing usefulness and effect on every enemy. You don't get any durability on weapons, which is kind of a relief because you don't have to be as smart with your weapons at all. But to be honest, switching characters is kinda weird because your character replaces the other instead of a simple swap like something in Trials of Mana. But it's still a neat mechanic to have. When you encounter monsters, they're usually guarding a chest, which you can loot once you have destroyed them all. You can level up your character and adventure rank, which makes you more powerful and able to explore more places. You also get so many rewards. I enjoy the music in Genshin Impact as well. All of the different strings harmonizing in an intense melody as Genshin Impact slowly turns to Kid Icarus Uprising! Wait, what? Like Zelda, you could cook different recipes, but all the trial and error is taken out of it. They just kinda give you a recipe book, but they kinda turn cooking into a game as well. It's a precision thing, but if you do it enough times, you could be proficient enough to cook it every single time, which is a bit boring, but it saves a lot of time and it's also less annoying. Overall, it feels more of an RPG, but that's what they're going for, and that's what they specialize in as well. On top of the frame rate drops and restrictive gameplay style, I feel like Genshin Impact is just as fun as Breath of the Wild. I don't think it's better than Zelda though. I think it does some things better, but Zelda was more deep and it was more immersive. I just found Zelda a bit more fun because the freedom that you have and the variety of moves that you can perform with the Sheikah Slate just make Breath of the Wild endlessly fun. I didn't mind any of the things that Genshin Impact had, but it just wasn't my favorite, I guess. Wait a minute. Breath of the Wild took inspirations from Shadow of the Colossus?